Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video we are going to see the basic of CSS, what is CSS, why we use CSS and how many types of CSS are there. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. So what is CSS? CSS generally stands for Cascading Style Sheet. It is used to style our web page or web document, or it is used to create our web page responsive. So generally CSS are of three types: inline CSS, internal CSS and external CSS. So CSS describe how HTML elements are to be displayed on the screen. CSS generally save a lot of time of a developer, and it can control the layout of multiple web pages all at once. So now we are going to see the three type of CSS, like internal, inline and external. We'll see each one by one and how to implement that CSS into the web page or in your document. So first we are going to see what is inline CSS. So inline CSS are the CSS that we use inside our tag. So there are two tags that I have defined, S2 tag and P tag. S2 tag says Letsfindcourse. P tag says a programming portal for placement preparation and find best online programming tutorial. So inside that tag, the CSS you define is known as inline CSS. So I will type some CSS over here, just like text align equals to center. So as you can see, inside the S2 tag I have written the four style sheet. Text line equals to center, font size equals to 35 pixel, color equals to this, and text transform equals to uppercase. These are all considered as an inline CSS. So when I save this code and when I run my css.html, you can see the effect. The color is changed, the text is in uppercase, text aligned to center, and the font size has been increased of this. Now I will apply the CSS inside the P tag. So I have written the CSS text align equals to center, font size and font weight inside that P tag. Now I will save this code, and when I run that css.html, you can see the change. In this way, inline CSS is used to style your HTML document. Now there is a one drawback of inline CSS is that there can be a time when you have to use the same CSS n number of time into your HTML document. That time you have to copy each and every style sheet, and you have to copy paste each and every style sheet n number of times. It will increase your overhead also, and it is not preferred by developers. So that now what we will do, we will try to create IDs and classes, and through which you can use the IDs everywhere, and it will decrease your overhead. And now as you've seen the drawback of inline CSS, now we will try to learn what is internal CSS and why internal CSS is used. So suppose I have created two classes H2 and classes P. So I have defined the CSS into the style inside the head tag, and you can see all the CSS inside that. So when I save this code and when I run my css.html, you can see that there is a Letsfindcourse and there is a P tag, and there will be no change. Now the drawback of inline CSS that we have to write that same CSS n number of times. Now here is the solution. If you want to write the same CSS 3 to 4 times, then you can use the same class P, and the class is defined over here. So you don't have to write text align equals to center, font size and font weight each and every time over here. You just have to define the class, and you have to call that class into the P tag. And when I save this code and when I run my css.html, you can see the effect. You don't have to write the CSS each and every time n number of time. Instead of that, you can use that class, and the same CSS will be there in that tag or in that place. So in this way internal CSS used. Internal CSS we generally use inside the head tag. We have to use style, and inside style you can define your classes, your IDs and your element, and you can define your CSS. So in this way internal CSS is used. Now the drawback of internal CSS is that if you have to use the same CSS in another page. Now I have created the same page in which I will remove the H2 and H5 tag. Now I have to use that P tag and S2 tag, but our tag is defined inside the css.html, and you have to use that CSS inside the css1.html, but you cannot use it because you have to again define the H2 and P tag inside the style. So if you want to If you want to control the layout of multiple web pages all at once, then you have to use the external CSS. What we'll do, we will create a separate file with .css extension, and we will save our CSS in that file. Now you can use the file name learn.css inside multiple pages. So what you have to do, you have to create a link style sheet and you have to give the path of that CSS. So when I save this code and when I run css.html, so there will be no effect. If I add one more thing over here, color equals to, suppose I give some different color, and when I save and when I refresh, you can see the color changes. I have changed in learn.css and the effect will be shown in css.html. So through this you can set a layout of multiple web pages at once. Now what I have done, I have removed the style sheet and I have just calling the h2 and p tag. When I save this code and when I run css1.html and I refresh, you can see whole layout changes. Now what I will do, I have to just add that link over here, and when I save this code and when I run css1.html, you can see the effect. So what I will do, I will now remove the color, and when I have to just save this file only, and you can see the effect in css.html also and css1.html also. So in this way you can control the layout of multiple web pages at once. So in website there are generally multiple web pages are present, so you can control the layout of all the web pages at once. You have to just create an external CSS file and you have to link that file into your HTML document, and in this way you can control the layout of all pages at once. Just like if I have to increase the font weight to 800 and when I save this code, the font weight will change in CSS and css1.html. So when I refresh css1.html, you can see the font weight changes. When I refresh css.html, you can see the font weight is changed. So in this way you can control the layout of multiple web pages. This is about CSS, why CSS is used, how many types of CSS there are. 3 types of CSS: inline, internal and external, and I have teach you how to use that CSS, what are the drawbacks of that inline and internal, and why external CSS is so much preferred by the developers. So if you haven't liked this video, please like this video, comment your thought, what you think about this video. If you haven't shared this video, please share this video with your friends, with everyone who wants to learn HTML and CSS. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. We'll see you in our next video.